You ever have one of those mornings where you step outside with your coffee ready to soak in a little peace and quiet, only to realize your life is about to turn into some wild reality show you never signed up for? That was me. 700 a.m., still barefoot, mug in hand, expecting to feed my bulls and maybe watch the fog burn off over the pasture, when I was hit with the sound of a harp being tuned and the sight of a white gazebo smack in the middle of my land. There was a woman hair in hot rollers, silk robe fluttering in the breeze, shouting about hay bales with golden ribbons. For a second, I honestly wondered if I was still dreaming, but nope, this was all painfully real. She looked at me like I was some sort of groundskeeper she'd ordered off Amazon. And before I could even get a word out, she pointed at my old tractor and said, "Can you move that rusty thing? It's ruining the rustic vibe." That's when it clicked. This wasn't just some setup for a picnic or a charity bake sale. This was a full-blown wedding rehearsal, on my pasture, without a single soul asking me for permission. I wandered through rows of white chairs, catering vans parked so close to my irrigation line, I could practically hear the pipe groaning, and vendors in matching polos setting up like they did this every weekend. There was a little flower girl who waved at me. I think she felt sorry for the weird neighbor in pajamas. The whole thing looked like a Pinterest board had exploded, and somehow my bull's favorite mud patch had become the centerpiece. I finally caught the eye of Karen, Queen of Chaos, who spun around just long enough to dismiss me as background noise. Someone handed her a clipboard. She started barking more orders, and I realized I was living in the middle of someone else's fever dream. So I start tracing the power cords and find her cousin Dale, the self-appointed DJ, unloading giant speakers by my barn. I ask who told him it was okay to be here, and he just shrugs, says Karen told everyone it was community land and she knows the HOA. Community land, my foot. This place has been in my family for over 10 years, and the deed is in my name. I storm back to Karen, who's now locked in a heated debate about napkin colors, and say as calmly as I can, "This is my property. You're trespassing. Take it all down." She laughs. Actually laughs right in my face. "Don't be so dramatic," she says. "It's one afternoon. We're almost done setting up. The guests are flying in. It's too late to change anything now." She acts like I'm the villain for not handing over my land for her Instagram fantasy. Then I notice she's installed a sign by the main road. "Welcome to Wedding Hollow, a Karen event." It's got faux wood wedding rings, the whole 9 yards. I whip out my phone and start taking pictures of everything, every chair, every extension cord, every out-of-place flower arrangement. I tell her I'm calling the sheriff, and she just says, "Go ahead. I've got a permit. You'll be embarrassed when the truth comes out." 20 minutes later, the sheriff pulls up. I'm standing there with my deed, and Karen suddenly got tears in her eyes, telling some wild story about a dishonest event planner, and waving around a document with my name spelled wrong and a signature that looked like a toddler's doodle. The deputy just stares at her, says, "Ma'am, this doesn't even have a county seal, and the address is off by 3 digits. Karen starts begging for a few hours, says everything's paid for, and it's too late to move. The deputy turns to me, asks if I want to press charges or just issue a warning. Part of me wanted her in cuffs, but I knew the gossip around here would turn me into the monster who ruined a wedding. So I tell her she's got 24 hours. She thanks me, smiles like she just outmaneuvered me on a chessboard, and as the deputies leave, I realize she's not going anywhere. She's just getting started. That evening, I take a walk along the fence, watching the sun dip behind hay bales now dressed up like they're on parade. My bulls are sulking in the back lot, confused and grumpy. I scratch Tank behind the ears and say, "Don't worry, buddy, your moment's coming." I look back at the gaudy gazebo standing proud in my field and think, yeah, Karen poked the wrong bear. Thing is, out here, people forget respect is what holds everything together. Respect for the land, for boundaries, and most importantly, for bulls that don't like getting kicked off their turf. Later, another vendor pulls up asking where to set up the pre-wedding brunch. I laugh because I finally see it. Karen isn't packing up. She's doubling down. She took my mercy as a green light and was going to run her wedding, dare me to stop her in front of 200 guests. That's when I decide I'm not just stopping her, I'm making sure she never forgets whose land this is, and I won't need lawyers or fines. No, I've got something better: hooves, horns, and a whole lot of mud. Next morning, I'm hoping maybe, just maybe, she'll wake up with a conscience. Instead, I get hit with the scent of lavender incense, a flute playing My Heart Will Go On, and a dozen yoga mats spread across my field like confetti. Karen's leading a sunrise yoga class shouting affirmations about abundance while a photographer snaps pictures for her rustic healing Instagram. And the kicker. She's installed a new professionally printed sign, Pastoral Bliss Events, where love meets the land with a website and phone number. I stare at it feeling my blood pressure spike as her staff hauls a portable archway across my grass. I go back to the barn, pull out every property record and start snapping photos of everything. Then I call my buddy Micah, part-time lawyer, full-time cynic. He shows up, takes one look at Karen's fake lease, and bursts out laughing. This is like she signed it with her elbow, he says. I ask what my options are. He tells me to document everything, every car, every guest, every ad she posts. And maybe he says with a grin, make sure she knows the bulls aren't props. The next few hours, I'm strapping on a GoPro walking the fence line, recording every insult to my property. I find glossy brochures in my mailbox with my land and even tank in the photos captioned, Meet Our Friendly Mascots. I call Greg the HOA president, hoping for backup. Turns out Karen's his cousin. He's just as tired of her as everyone else, tells me she's using his name without permission, and the HOA has nothing to do with any of this. In other words, you're on your own, pal. So I prep the bullpen, reinforce the gates, and start to hatch a plan. The bulls aren't dangerous by nature, but they're territorial and they've had enough. I hang a new sign, Private Agricultural Land Bulls on site. Enter at your own risk. I send Karen an email with the sign and CC the sheriff's office. 10 minutes later, she replies, you will regret that. No greeting, no punctuation, just pure Karen. Wedding day dawns bright and too early. Guests in fancy clothes are posing on hay bales, a drone buzzes overhead, and Karen's strutting like she owns the joint. They've even got a white horse for photo ops. It's all so over the top you'd think she was marrying royalty. I watch from the gate, arms folded, feeling the anticipation building. She makes her grand entrance in a horse-drawn carriage, her dress blinding in the morning light, her bridesmaids armed with mason jars and forced smiles. The harpist starts playing, the officiant begins to drone on, and I quietly walk to the bullpen. I open the gate, not all the way, just enough. I don't force them, I just give them the choice. Pickle the smallest noses through first, then Tank Big and Grumpy. Sir Hornslot, the old man, takes his sweet time. They don't charge, they just walk slow and deliberate. But the moment the bulls step onto that field, the whole mood changes. A kid yells, "Are those supposed to be here?" Karen ignores it. Pickle knocks over a chair. Someone screams. Tank starts toward the flower arch. A bridesmaid shrieks. Dale the DJ tries to play calming music, but it only adds to the madness. The horse freaks, carriage goes rolling, porta-potty tips, guests scatter like pigeons. Then Karen, in a panic, tries to grab Sir Hornslot by the halter, bad move. He flicks his head, mud goes flying, and Karen lands in a puddle, veil askew, dress ruined. The whole thing is filmed, of course. By dinner, there's a viral video of Karen shrieking, "Stop the cows!" This is my day with dramatic slow-mo replays. 500,000 views, endless memes, and the internet deciding once and for all the bulls are the real heroes. After the stampede, Karen packs up, humiliated, furious, and vowing revenge. The HOA bans her from community events. Her cousin Greg resigns as president, and her reputation craters. Karen tries one last move, shows up on my porch with a scrawny lawyer and a lawsuit for emotional sabotage. I nearly choke laughing. I hand everything to Micah, footage, fake leases, threatening emails. Her case falls apart before it even gets to court. In the end, she has to pay damages, pull her photos offline, and post a retraction she never bothers with. Justice on paper, but even better, my bulls become local legends. Someone prints t-shirts, a bakery sells bull-shaped cookies, and my pasture gets more drive-by visitors than ever. Thing is, the story doesn't end with the lawsuit. Karen tries to reinvent herself, podcasts a reality show pilot, Reclaim Dreams. But every time she circles back, I shut it down. One afternoon, I catch her filming on my fence line. I remind her loud enough for the camera to catch that she's trespassing again. And this time, I won't be so patient. Her house goes up for sale. No one says goodbye. When the moving van finally rolls out, the whole street breathes a little easier. With peace restored, I get to thinking maybe, just maybe, I could turn all this mess into something good. I file permits, work with a real event planner, and start offering the pasture fenced properly, bulls safely penned for folks who actually respect the land. Word spreads. Bulls and vows takes off. And the first wedding is everything. Karen's wasn't simple, genuine, and full of gratitude for what's real. The pasture gets its magic back. Sometimes I even let the legend stand that the bulls only show up if someone plays a harp. The best part. Every now and then I find a scrap of white fabric tangled in the fence, probably from Karen's dress. I tie it to the gate as a reminder this is where the nonsense ended and the real story began. So let me ask you, was I right to stand my ground, or should I have let her fairy tale play out? Tell me what you think. Where's the line between hospitality and holding your boundaries? This is America. Every pasture has its story. Let's hear yours.